All our viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Peace and Development. And today we are paying a visit to the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation to discuss peace development as well as development in Upper Egypt. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi inaugurated on Tuesday the new West Asyut power station, one of the biggest development projects in Upper Egypt. President el-Sisi and his government have dedicated their efforts to the development of Upper Egypt, the creation of new job opportunities for the youth, and paving the way for new investment opportunities in the area. Within this framework, the Million Fadans project, which has been upgraded to 1.5 million Fadans, is an ambitious developmental, agricultural and industrial project aimed at coping with population growth for the upcoming 14 years, expected at 40 million. The ambitious project aims to expand Egypt's prospective agricultural land by 20% from 8 million to 9.5 million Fadans. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi recently attended the inauguration of 10,000 Fadans that consist of 40 grand wells and 3 model villages, part of the Farafra project. The president also inaugurated 8 power stations in many governorates of Upper Egypt via video conference. During the ceremony, the president said that the challenge of power production is the main focus of the government, and the total volume of power production by the end of the year will reach 4,400 megawatts. President el-Sisi praised as unprecedented the achievements of the past 2 years. Recently, the IMF World Economic Outlook released statistics about the top 3 economies in Africa, where Egypt is the new silver medalist at second place, with Egypt's nominal US dollar GDP expanding by an average of 7.5% per annum from 2012 to 2015. President el-Sisi also inspected on Tuesday the new Asyut Barrage project and its hydroelectric station, aimed to improve the irrigation system in Upper Egypt. The project will be fully operational by September 2017. The inauguration was attended by the Ministers of Electricity, Local Development, Social Solidarity, Irrigation, Transportation and Housing. The Ministry of Water Resources has announced its plans to develop new water resources, cut down consumption and reduce water pollution, as well as strategies to clean up polluted water wells in order to establish new communities and further develop the areas of Upper Egypt. I'm delighted to be joined this morning by our guest, Engineer Walid Haqiqi, the spokesman of the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation. Engineer Walid, thank you very much, sir, for joining us on our episode of Peace and Development.
Thank you very much.
Right, let's get straight into it and deal with the Million Fadans project, which was by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in August to the 1.5 million Fadan project, is a very important and ambitious project which aims to expand the farmland in the Farafra oasis in the New Valley province located in Egypt's western desert. Tell us a bit more about this ambitious project.
Okay, so let me start with the philosophy of this project. Actually, the project is let's start that Egypt population is focused on 5% of the area of the country, while 95% is almost vacant. I mean, with only 5% of the population on that area. So we are just living on this narrow valley along the Nile River and in the Delta. So the philosophy was to try to have some living space for the population, some job opportunities for the population. So to redistribute the population actually on more areas that we have. So this is in general the main objective of the project. The Ministry of Water, I mean, you cannot have development without water.
Absolutely, water is life.
Exactly, yes, exactly. Yes. And that's why water is very important for the project. Locating the appropriate areas that can be cultivated where the water resources is available, this is very important. And that's, yeah, this is a very, especially because the project is mainly using groundwater. Yeah, we have some areas that also use some surface water in Toshka and in other places, but it is mainly on groundwater. So the ministry is working on the wells, so digging the wells, of course, with different companies and so on. But also recently we have also a new company that is that is called Reef Al Masri, that is also will be part or will take maybe even over that part of assigning areas to beneficiaries and so on. So, but the project is a cooperation between the Ministry of Water Resources, the Ministry of Agriculture, and this new company of Reef Al Masri, of course.
The project includes the digging of over 5,000 water wells and the cost of 6 million Egyptian pounds, with already 600 wells to be drilled in different areas of Egypt's western desert in the Farafra oasis.
Actually, I would say that also the western desert, we have this the Nubian sandstone aquifer. This is the main aquifer in this area. It is an aquifer that has high potential, but it is also non-renewable water resources. So we have to deal with that very carefully, because this is, to guarantee sustainability for the project in the future. And the philosophy also is to use groundwater to cultivate, but also to have communities, so other activities. Actually, when we talk about 1.5 million fedel, the cultivated area will be around 600,000 to 700,000 fedel, in that range. The other areas will be for other socio-economic activities. Living space, but also industry, tourism, and other socio-economic activities. One of the means to avail water resources in the future is to use groundwater for the population that will be living there, the different activities, and then the wastewater that is coming from this area will be treated to a certain extent that it can be reused for agriculture. So it will be some sort of closed cycle for water resources to be very efficient in using this resource that is very important for the future of Egypt.
The Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation has said that the site of the project was chosen based on scientific studies to ensure that there is enough subterranean water for the development of this land. Could you tell us a bit about this kind of water and differentiate it with well water?
Let me say that actually we have in the ministry we have a groundwater sector, but also we have a groundwater research institute.
Right.
We have what we call the National Water Research Center. It has 12 institutes. One of the important ones is the Groundwater Research Institute. So this is the main entity that is responsible for all the studies related to the groundwater aquifers, the groundwater sustainable abstraction that can be, we call it safe yield somehow, which is so how much we can use so that we sustain the resource, the aquifer for as long as possible time. So those studies are carried out by the Groundwater Research Institute on phases. So also we are working on phases actually. So we do some initial studies, but also some detailed studies on the site, so that we can really choose the areas that is very, as I said, we have water resources, and also we sustain that resource for the future.
The Farafra project that has been launched and inaugurated by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi covers 10,000 fadans that consist of 40 ground wells and 3 model villages. The role now of your ministry in these model villages, how to educate the people, how to deal with the availability of the limited water resources, how to recycle water, prevent water pollution, all these issues that are really a drive or a campaign to educate, provide people with more knowledge, and have better practices with their use of water.
Yeah, so let me start from the beginning, actually. Let me start about the water situation currently in Egypt.
Yes.
And the need for the awareness for the people, so that we really try to benefit from each drop of water that we have in Egypt. So in general, we can say that Egypt has mainly the Nile water, which is a 55.5 billion cubic meter per year coming from the Nile water. And this represents about 97% of our renewable water resources. In addition to that, we have some rainfall on the northern coast, which is, I mean, it's not much actually, like 1.5 billion cubic meter per year or something. And then this part of the western desert, non-renewable part, as I said, we should try to work with that very, very carefully. And then when we compare the demands to the supply is around 60 billion cubic meter per year, while the demands now exceeding 80 billion cubic meter per year.
So there's a 20 billion cubic meter
Yes, we have a gap
shortage.
We have a gap of 20 billion cubic meter per year. Currently, we are closing that gap by reusing drainage water, reusing treated wastewater, reusing, I would say, shallow groundwater in the delta. It is some sort of reuse. It is a groundwater, but it is not a source by itself. It seeps from the Nile water and the agricultural areas to the groundwater, and then we reuse it at certain times, at certain places, to when we need more water in those areas and at those times, so especially in summer. So this is our situation. In the future, you can imagine, I mean, now we are 90 million capital. When we have this 1959 agreement with Sudan that defined the 55.5 billion, we were like 25 million people at that time. So the per capita share is now like 1/3 of the quota at that time, 60 years ago.
Insufficient.
In the future, we are in the 2050 will be around 150 million.
They're expecting an increase of 40 million in the next 14 years.
Yes, yes.
So dramatic increase.
Yeah, you can imagine then how much will be the water share per capita. And when we talk about share, we do not mean the drinking water that we have in house, but the overall water that is used for drinking water, but also for agriculture and for industry and for other activities. So this is, internationally they define what they call it water poverty limit. It is 1,000 cubic meter per capita per year. Currently, we are around 630 cubic meter per capita per year. So we are under that poverty level. We have also what we call the absolute scarcity level. This is 500 cubic meter per capita per year. We are approaching that. So in like 6-7 years, we'll approach the limit of the absolute scarcity of water resources. So, and that needs awareness. That needs the people that they should actually know the challenge that we are facing. They should share with us in facing those challenges.
Another program aims to improve irrigation of new land and save water. What are some of the challenges that we face in Upper Egypt to implement these projects?
Yeah, poverty, as we know actually, in Upper Egypt, poverty levels are high. And that's why government is very keen to alleviate poverty levels to have poverty alleviation in Upper Egypt. And that's why we have some mega projects that started with Toshka, that was aiming to develop the Upper Egypt, to have some job opportunities for the youth in that area, to have a living space for the Upper Egypt population. We have some other projects also in the area.
The new Asyut barrage and hydropower plant project, of course, is located near the town of Asyut, and its construction is to replace the old one and provide additional water that is required for irrigation. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
When we talk about the recent projects, we have Asyut barrage that is currently under construction. It is actually it is a replacement of an old
it's a century-old barrage.
Yeah, it's more than 1 century. Actually, it was built in 1902, so it is more than 100 years old now. And the barrage is very important for allocating water to different uses and for agriculture. Asyut barrage is serving actually 5 governorates in Upper Egypt: Asyut, Menia, Bani Suef, Fayoum, and Giza. So it is a very through one of the main canals, Ibrahimiyya canals, one of the main canals in Egypt.
Indeed.
The project is currently, as I said, under construction. It is a huge project. The cost of that project is around 4 billion Egyptian pounds. It started like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. It is supposed to be, it's planned to be completed and opened in early September 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But in few days from now, so I think in end of May, 1st of June, we will start submerging the location, the current location of the barrage by water.
Also, there is an aim to control the current loss of water that is released through the barrage to maintain the head pond levels and prevent the wastage of water.
Yes, I mean, as we said, the old barrage is a very old barrage, but I cannot say that we lose water when that water goes downstream. It is not lost. It is used somehow in the downstream area, so after the barrage. So it is not lost, but we will have more better control, as I said, better management for the water resources with the new barrage, but also because of the being too old barrage and what we call it, I'm not. The age of the barrage, it is overaged, we can say that.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
It's overaged somehow, and we want to have that barrage before any problems can happen to the old barrage.
Indeed. The barrage is also expected to generate annual energy 230, is it giga, is it GW? I don't know what the term.
32 megawatt hour.
A saving, it should be saving a lot of money as well.
It is around 100 million Egyptian pound per year.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visiting Asyut and will be passing by the power station to inaugurate it, which the total capacity of this power station at 4,710 megawatts to confront the heavy loads. Now, water and electricity have an interrelationship.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about how they can benefit. We can benefit.
Actually,
from.
They are very related. Even internationally now, we have what we call it the energy, water, food nexus. Also the food, agriculture. So they are very related, and they are very. So the policies and the strategies of those sectors should be harmonized. Should be, they should be one integral part, one integral policy. So yeah, water and energy and food, they are very interlinked. We just a figure, we pay like 20% of the budget of the ministry for electricity to operate the pump stations that is working under this ministry. So it is a huge energy that is needed to operate the irrigation system, irrigation and drainage system. So we use lots of energy, but also water generates lots of energy. We have the highest one now, so the hydroelectrical power stations in general. We have some also along the barrages, on the new ones. We have also hydroelectrical power stations. So they are very interlinked, and we can say that we need both for any development in the world.
The project is also expected to provide job opportunities, which is another big aim for development in Upper Egypt. Over 3,000 job opportunities. How important is this to develop the area?
Yes. So during the construction, yeah, of course, there are many companies that are working on the site. Also the ministry, from the ministry side and from the Ministry of Electricity, and so that the total jobs that were used or that were available during the construction was around 3,000 job opportunities, as you mentioned. Most of them are from the area of the barrage. Yeah. Actually, we can say we have some contractors, we have some international contractors, but also we have Egyptian contractors. But most of the labor are from the area of the project. So it is really serving the Upper Egypt area, and especially Asyut around the barrage. And those are, we can say, those are the job opportunities during the construction of the barrage. After the construction, some of those labor will continue. Some of those will continue to operate and maintenance and so on for the barrage. And that will be around 300.
300 jobs, yes. We've also seen President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi visiting Asyut and taking a look at some of the developmental projects in the area, plus the inauguration of the power stations in Asyut. Also, you have done safety dams that have been inaugurated at the cost of 40 million Egyptian pounds to prevent flooding. A lot of people would be surprised that there would be flooding in areas of Upper Egypt. So could you explain this a bit more?
Yeah, we can start from the mountain, the mountainous areas along the Red Sea, and this is the main source of the flash floods that comes to some areas in Upper Egypt, especially in Asyut and Sohag, and that the problem with those flood flushes that you may find that you have 50 years without floods, but then it comes, and then that's why it is really dangerous.
Must be ready.
Yeah, and we have faced some of the issues early in the 90s and even after that in those areas. And that's why we have those protection dams to protect the souls, the people, and the structures, the construction that exists in such areas from that flash floods. We have in Asyuti Valley. So we have actually, as I said, we have 4 projects in Asyut, 1 project in Sohag currently, and even in the Esna some projects also to protect, as I said again, people and construction and investment that exists in those areas.
Engineer Walid, what are some of the actual challenges that are faced by your ministry in order to create new communities? As you know, Egyptians are very steadfast to stay in their areas. They're not very open to moving to new communities or new areas. So what are the main challenges you face in this ministry?
The culture, yeah. Actually, even within the same city, you find that people want to be in the same
same
location.
place,
Yeah,
yes.
they don't move. But if we have job opportunities, if we have a community that they can live in, I think they will move. Otherwise we are deteriorate. We are, just living, especially when we talk about Delta, for example. Delta means you have to build on, to have your buildings on the agricultural lands, which is
extremely.
Yeah, this is a crime in my opinion. This is a crime actually. So we have, because of population growth, we have to go out of the Delta and Valley. But we have to, it's not only this ministry actually, but all other ministries, and they should cooperate and coordinate to have a community that is suitable for population to move to. That is, so again, the different services should be available. So health and other and education and so on should be available there, but job opportunities should be available then I think people will move.
Branch out, indeed.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't leave without going over the very important topic of the disputes over Egypt's share of the Nile and the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a very urgent and pressing challenge. How would you elaborate more on this for us?
The Renaissance Dam, I would say that it is very crucial for Egypt, and all the whole government was they are working on that, on different paths, different ways. So political, legal, and technical part. We, as a Ministry of Water Resources, we are more with the concern of the technical part of that important file. Currently, we had some delay in finalizing the technical study. Actually, the idea was to have a technical study, define the impacts of the Renaissance Dam on the 3 countries, especially the downstream countries, Sudan and Egypt. And that was carried out by international consultant, one a French company consultant and the Dutch consultant. The Dutch consultant at a certain time withdrew from the study, so we had to hire another consultant, and then we have to agree as countries on the issues that should be put in the TOR, the terms of reference for that consultant, and we had then some different views. But there was a meeting actually early this month in Addis Ababa, and the 3 countries has agreed on the issues that should be included in the TUR. And that was sent to the consultant to update his offer, and I think we are ready will be ready soon to sign the contract with the consultant to continue the study, so that we have clear impacts, and also we have some agreement between the different countries on how we are going to fill the dam, how we are going to operate the dam in a clear agreement. On the other side, Egypt, as I said, in all cases, we need to use every drop of water that we have very efficiently. And that's why we talk about, as I said, we have a gap, and we are closing that gap by reusing water. And to reuse water, you have to have a good quality of water that can be reused. That's why we are very keen to have or to deal with different issues regarding water pollution and water pollution abatement. So it's very important because it affects directly the health of the population, of course. It affects the environment. It also affects the available resources, because we are counting on the reuse as a resource. So the government is very keen to deal with the pollution issue.
Engineer Walid Haqiqi, spokesman of the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation. I'd like to thank you very much, sir, on joining us on our episode in Peace and Development with our focus on Upper Egypt. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up today's episode of Peace and Development. My name is Angie Meher. Many thanks for joining us, and looking forward to seeing you again next time. Till then, it's goodbye.